One of the things that I get criticized for occasionally is the war brides dynamic. Well, war brides, but also the alpha widow uh, concept, right? And what is the alpha widow concept? The alpha widow concept is this: is that like women, when I talk about notch count and why notch count should matter to guys, it's not about the promiscuity side of it. It's about deepening the pool of guys who could have had an alpha impact on that woman. That's like promiscuity is promiscuity. In fact, I don't. By the time I got to about 50, all that bullshit about like, oh, how many bodies does she have? When you get to like your mid 40s or early 50s, somewhere around there, all that pretentious bullshit just flies out the fucking window. It really does. Like, is she DTF? Yeah. Okay. Well, all right, let's go. Don't care. Um, but but the only reason why I even make a big deal out of body count is not because of the promiscuity side of things, or like guys will say, well, you know, she's not going to be a good bet for marriage. Like, well, if you don't believe in marriage in the first place, why the fuck would you care? Like, oh, well, she's promiscuous. Good. If you don't care about getting married and you don't want to have kids with her, that's a green flag, my friend. She's got tattoos. Oh, game on, man. I'm not getting. You're not marrying her. What the fuck? That's a go sign, man. But I think people still have that sort of in the back of their head, and they want to get all moralistic about it. Now, if there is something that kind of feels off, instinctually feels off about that, it's because that if a woman has more players in her backfield, there's the higher instance, or a higher statistically, just by permutations, right? Statistically, that one of those guys is going to have the most alpha impact on her, and that's going to be the guy that you have to measure up to. That's the litmus test. That's the benchmark that was set for you. So guys will be like, well, Rollo, she was with the guy and he was better than me and a bigger cock, and he was like, you know, taller than me, and he had more muscles and he had more money, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, that's, you either stay with her and you outdo that motherfucker, or you leave. You make the choice. Most guys will leave, right? I don't know, I could never measure up. Well, if that's the case, if that's your mentality, then get out. Find some girl from the Amish Dutch country who has no partners or one partner. That's why virgin brides are like such a thing. But it comes back to the concept of the alpha widow, right? And the guy that woman was with that rocked her world that she can't seem to get over. Now, by order of degree, most women have that guy, right? I am not the first guy that got with my wife. Neither is my wife the first woman that I ever got with, right? So, but like, we've been married for 28 years. We have a child together. We're very much in love. We just fucked last night. It was fantastic. Because I outclass every motherfucker she was ever with. And I could tell you that with 100% assurity, right? I outclass. Look, at 56 years old, okay? You could look at me physically. You could look at me like intellectually. You can look at me like success-wise. By every fucking metric, I am the best she could do. Oh, well, how come Mrs. Tomassi allows him to go and allows him to go to Babes in Toyland? That I'm the best she can do. She knows that. She'll tell you that. It's funny. I was it took me by surprise. I was on Fresh and Fit, I think, or no, maybe it was Valuetainment.
Yeah.
I was on there with Sterling Cooper one time, and Sterling Cooper started talking about my wife because we hang out like in Lake Tahoe and stuff. We gone on vacation and stuff with him and Justin. Justin's a family friend too, and he goes, you guys don't see like Rollo and his wife like when they're off together, because like and I don't even realize this myself until like Sterling said this. He says she can't take her eyes off of him. Like, she's always looking at me and like but basically is very appreciative. And like, I don't know if it's just like a subconscious thing or whatever, but he mentioned that. And I was like, yeah, I guess she kind of does. Right. And so for me to be sort of insecure about whether or not my wife had like, 6 or 7 prior lovers before I came along, I don't give two flying fucks about that, because I know that I'm the best she can do. Right. And have been since fucking day one, right? And even if I wasn't at the time, I sure as fuck am now.
Hell yeah.
And so when guys are like, there's no way to get past the alpha widow thing, blah blah blah. Well, maybe for you, because you're a sad piece of shit, but you don't have to be. You could be better. You could be better at what you do. You can always improve yourself. You're a guy, man. You got fucking all the time in the world, man. I look at, I'm 56 years. I'm gonna be 57 in April of next year, right? Look at the guns, right? I mean,
value with time.
Yes, that's the fucking great thing about being a fucking man, dude. It's like you have slow decay of your agency, slow, and like by the time that's why I keep saying, man, I don't want to die in a fucking assisted living facility, dude. I want to be in my Camaro listening to Angel of Death by Slayer before I like slam into 200 miles an hour. I'll probably be on the drive from Las Vegas to LA, but yeah, I mean, like people, oh, that's so stupid, Rollo. That was stupid. I'm like, what would you rather? I would rather go out like that than like die, from fucking pneumonia or like water filling my lungs in some assisted living facility where nobody gives two shits about you, right? Better to burn out than fade away, man.
Yep.
And so like when I'm talking about stuff like this, and like people, it's really hard for people to wrap their heads around the fact that like there's better ways to check out or get your ticket punched than oh, I'm gonna sit, I'll have all my friends around me and I'll be on life support and drooling and they'll all be okay, it's okay, Dad, you can let go. Fuck that. Fucking set me on fire or something. Put a grenade on me. I don't care.
Rob a plane and fly into the mountain.
That's right, man. Fucking DB Cooper, man. Never to be seen from again.
Was that Alaska King that did that?
No, it was in did you ever see it was yeah, that might have been it. But no, there's a really great series called, and I just saw it on Netflix. I binge watched the whole thing. It was Prison Break.
Prison Break, yeah.
Oh, great. Fucking great show, man. Great show. Yeah. Hey, how do you want to check out? So anyways, I want to sort of challenge this idea because I think it was like Alex from Date Psych was saying something to the effect of like, oh man, most guys or most women don't really have an alpha widow. They it's just, this is sort of mating bullshit that he's just keeps stroking off to all the time. And I wanted to read this one. Like somebody sent me the link. I don't even follow the dude anymore, but somebody sent me that link. And then I was looking at this and I go, well, you might want to take that up with all of the romance literature that has been written since, I don't know, like the turn of the century, right? Mm. When you look at like Jane Eyre, or you're looking at like Emily Bronte, or you're looking at like even like Pride and Prejudice. If you look at even the old romance novelists, all the way up through Harlequin romance and fucking Fabio and all that stuff, you look at every single one of those romance novels follows the alpha widow arc. And it's successful and is a multi-trillion-dollar industry because it follows that same thing. Now there's different, there might be the sci-fi version or the cowboy version or the 1920s version, but it's the same fucking, it's Taco Bell, man. It's the same ingredients, it's just in a different fucking shell, right? And so the reason why that's successful is because it follows it's like, you ever hear that's it's a song, it's called Two Princes by the Spin Doctors.
Yes.
And it's like she's torn between the happy-go-lucky guy who doesn't have any money that would really be a great choice for her, and she loves him and wants to fuck him. He's exciting. Or she can get with the rich guy who's a well-heeled daddy's boy. He's a trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes, finance, right? Like he's that guy. And so it's always and that's the basis of the song. And the reason why it's popular amongst women as well is because it follows that story arc based on the fucking alpha widow dynamic, right? Just look at it. So that's number one. But we also here's number two. We also have to look at the most famous love story of all fucking time. What was that? Titanic. Yep. Based on the alpha widow dynamic. So don't come at me, Alex from fucking Date Psych. Go talk to fucking, what is it? Cameron? Oh my God. James Cameron. Go talk to James Cameron and tell him and convince him to give back his Best Picture award from the Academy Awards for 1997 because he's a fraud, because all women don't really do that. Get the fuck out of here. Go and convince him that he shouldn't have written that story about Rose taking the $250 million. I didn't realize this $250 million the heart of the sea and drops it down to the bottom of the, doesn't care about the inheritance or like
Or the family
maybe my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-grandchildren could have used the $250 million I just dropped at the bottom of the sea because some 16-year-old kid drew her naked once and went to the bottom of the ocean and doesn't care about gives two flying fucks about the guy who like, you see all those pictures at the end where it's like she's like doing English writing and she's like Amelia Earhart and flying planes and shit like that and all this other stuff, and she's got, you know, kids and grandkids, and you know they weren't jacks. Well, maybe one of them was, but you know they weren't jacks. Who's at the bottom of the fucking ocean, and you want to tell me the greatest love story that was ever produced, Best Picture, James Cameron, Titanic. You're going to tell me that has no basis in reality. Get the fuck out of here. And so I wanted to read this last thing before we go. This was from, it's called Unrequited Love. This is from a text, or excuse me, from it was from a post on, let's see if I can go backwards. There we go. From Rue, R-U-E. And this was a tweet. I'm sorry. She says, I fell in love with a boy once, unrequited. He was so shy. His family owned a cafe, and I would go most Saturdays to eat blueberry corn cakes. That's a white boy thing. That's a white person thing if I ever saw it. Yeah. And yearn. What the fuck? Friends would accompany me and encourage me to talk to him. I never did. But every Saturday, I make this breakfast for my kids, and she shows these pictures. In fact, here, I'll just share the screen with you real quick. It's where'd it go? This is making the rounds, by the way. I don't share stuff if I don't think it's like something worth putting out there. I think this is it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, here we go. That's a blueberry corn cake. Okay, so that's a blueberry corn cake. Was there any more? Oh yeah, okay. And then so she says, this was taken shortly after the brunch at his cafe. The tragedy of the unrequited part is that he was interested in me, but just as shy. The first time we encountered each other, we stood feet apart on an otherwise empty deck. He had followed me out, not speaking until I went back in. We had mutual friends, and we were friends on social media, so this couldn't be too long ago. Yet, LOL. I moved away, lost track of him. How do you lose track of him? Is it social media? Much later, after almost 2 years of being single, I Googled him when I was ready for love. found my now ex-husband's blog instead. They have so she actually found her ex-husband. So I presume she's writing this because she's now ex-wife. They have the same name. Dave and Dave. And how much do you want to bet? Their son's name is Dave. Yes, they have the same name. And now here we are. Anyway, feeling nostalgic for the sweetness of that time, I was in love with him for years from afar. Held everyone else I met to the standard he set for a man, which is why I dated so few. I think my marriage was cursed from the beginning because of the name. There's only one S. Oh, I guess it's Steve. I'll never look him up. There's no way he isn't happily married with a family somewhere in California. Don't cut yourself short. You might be a home wrecker too. He might not even remember me at this point. Oh, trust me, he does. This was 17 years ago. That's nothing. But I think of that romance, mystery, and innocence while cooking these pancakes and feel gentle fondness. What does it say? I know, and then I know you're sad, but you should find him again. This is chicks telling him to go find your alpha widow. How romantic. Go find your alpha widow. It doesn't matter if he's married and has successfully somewhere in California. If it were meant to be, we would have made it happen back then. It's far too late now. And anyway, he has the same name as my ex-husband. All right, that's enough of that. Stop sharing, please. Thank you. Oh God. I wanted to point that out because I like one of the things that gets me is like when people like want to throw oh here's some stats, here's some research, like women don't actually do this. And I put out that that information, that data set before about how what is it? I think it's like, is it now 70% of women have a plan B. They have a fallback guy in case things go sideways, in case this motherfucker dies, or in case this guy doesn't work out. Then I've got a dick in a glass case, right? I got an emergency out, right? I got a plan B. And I've read those stats before, and people just they hate that. So what gets me is whenever you put out unflattering truths about women, there's always some like spurgy dude who just wants to find some like the most obscure fucking data sets that they can to just like defend milady's honor. And it's like this when I keep talking about like when I talk about like mental point of origin, like that's taking it to the next level, right? It's like your mental point of origin is so focused on women that anything that's possibly said that is in any way derogatory or could be construed as derogatory or unflattering towards women is then like cause for some holy fucking crusade to make everything right.